Today's episode of The Dan Cave is brought to you by Night Flyers, streaming now on Sci-Fi. Here's everything you need to know about the real villain of Aquaman. Between the endless rumors about whether or not Henry Cavill's done being Superman or that Ben Affleck is leaving the DC Extended Universe to play a sentient vape named Cloud Ripley, it can feel like we're treading water sometimes when it comes to our favorite DC heroes on the big screen. But this December, Warner Brothers is throwing us into the deep end with Aquaman's first ever solo movie where Jason Momoa's Arthur Curry will face not one, but two deadly denizens of the deep. Now, we've already covered the other villain Black Manta on a previous episode, but today we're going full anglerfish and shining a light on the biggest bad of them all, Ocean Master! Who is he? Why should you care? He's not dressed like a bat, but can Arthur still dig it? Find out the answer to all of these questions and more on today's episode of The Dan Cave.
I dig it.
All right, folks, we're off the deep end. Let me dive into today's sode. And now, if you've never heard of Ocean Master, you're not alone. It's not exactly a menacing name or even one that rolls off the tongue. It kind of sounds like Kyle Hill trying to remember the SEO for Poseidon. But nevertheless, Ocean Master is one of the most enduring foes in Aquaman's rogues gallery, and yet another reason I'm grateful to be an only child. Plus, they also cast Patrick Wilson to play him on the big screen, and he is just a delight in everything he's in. Love him in those Conjuring movies. Clap, clap for you. Ocean Master made his auspicious debut in September 1966's Aquaman number 29. Created by Bob Haney and Nick Cardy, the cover showed us a man clad in purple wielding a harpoon about to spear Aquaman through his high-key thick chest, with giant letters asking if Aquaman is a big old coward. Now, in his first appearance, Ocean Master appears in his signature manta ray-shaped sub and tries to blackmail the Earth's navies into giving him control of the oceans by trapping a ship on an iceberg and implanting a whale with a device that causes disasters wherever it goes. You know, because comics. Now, the coward conceit comes in because during their climactic standoff, Aquaman refuses to lay a hand on the Ocean Master, much to Aqualad's chagrin. When Aquaman's young ward asks him, "But why?" Aquaman reveals that it's because Ocean Master is secretly his half-brother, Orm. Aquaman's father remarried after Aquaman's mother, Atlanta, left, and she was the future queen of Atlantis, and unfortunately for Orm, his mom was just a normal human meatbag like you and me, so he had no powers of which to speak, which frustrated him to no end, and I'm sure that's the only thing that frustrated him. It had nothing to do with being named Orm, even though he's a normal human boy. Why did you call him Orm? Is that short for something? Ormathan? I don't know. Now, of course, Orm didn't know about any of this at the time because he got hit in the head with a rock, which conveniently gave him amnesia. You know, that old chestnut in which I can't remember how I got here in the first place. Weirdly, it didn't make him forget how horny he was to exact sea vengeance and conquer the oceans, which is why he wound up building himself a specialized suit to breathe underwater and, you know, conquer Atlantis or whatever. As is the case with many DC characters, Ocean Master's backstory has been revamped and reimagined over the years, most notably by Peter David following Crisis on Infinite Earths, and by Jeff Johns in the New 52 era. Now, this new version of Orm, which is to say the one we'll actually be seeing on the big screen as depicted in the New 52 and the Throne of Atlantis storyline, was born in the ancient undersea city of Atlantis, the son of Atlanta, the Queen of Atlantis, and Orvax Marius, an Atlantean military leader. They all have such stupid names. When Orm learned he had an older brother who was ahead of him in line for succession for the Atlantean throne, well, I'm sure you can imagine his reaction. Not thrilled. And despite his goofy-ass name, Orm isn't someone to be trifled with. He has super strength, underwater breathing, the power to communicate with marine life, and a magical trident that lets him control the weather, and a helmet that gave him the power of hydrokinesis, the ability to control water. He's also just this easily manipulated, super jingoistic, egotistical man with a short temper and a whole lot of weapons. So basically, everything you could ever want in a head of state. Now, Orm had a rough upbringing, to say the least. His father was a total jerkwad, and when Orm was 12 years old, Atlanta murdered his dad. So I'm sure she had perfectly good reasons, like the fact that Orvax was an abusive wiener, but, you know, doesn't really help with Orm's temperament. After his mother passed away, Orm ascended to the Atlantean throne, but some people in his court suspected him of foul play. An Atlantean advisor named Vulko accused him of matricide, but he didn't have any evidence, so he was banished to the surface world. Now, years later, Vulko encountered Arthur Curry, who was on the hunt for Atlantis himself, and Vulko told Arthur that he was, in fact, the rightful heir to Atlantis and needed to head down there right now to overthrow Orm once and for all. When Orm was finally reunited with Arthur, he surprisingly met him with open arms and bent the knee to his older brother, ceding the throne to him as per Atlantean tradition. But sadly, they even have racism underwater, and not everyone was so keen on having a half-human as their ruler. Gross. To keep the peace, Aquaman allowed his brother to continue sitting on the throne in his stead, and for a while, everything seemed hunky-dory. But then everything changed when the Water Nation attacked. A group of Atlanteans attacked a US military base, and the villainous treasure hunter Black Manta just started murdering a bunch of people on the surface world. It turns out both were trying to retrieve long-lost Atlantean artifacts. And both of these attacks seemed like they were Orm's doing, or at least that's what Aquaman thought. But these things went way out of control when an American missile struck Atlantis during what was supposed to just be a routine weapon test. Orm responded in kind by flooding Metropolis, Gotham, and Boston, killing thousands of people in the process. What followed was a battle between Orm's army and the Justice League, in which Orm kicked all of their asses, banished them to the Marianas Trench, and declared war on the surface world. But down in the trench, there lived a race of flesh-eating monsters conveniently known as the Trench, who, much to everyone's surprise, escaped and began attacking the Atlantean army. With both Atlantis and the surface world embroiled in war, it seemed like all hope was lost, but as it turned out, there was an even bigger bad than Ocean Master pulling the strings from behind the scenes. You want to know who it is? I can tell you right now. You know I'm something of a comic book scientist myself. Anyway, spoiler alert, it was Vulko. He engineered everything in some deranged attempt to get Arthur to claim the throne of Atlantis for himself. Long story short, Atlantis had to team up with those filthy landlubbers to stop the Trench and save the day, and then Orm yielded the throne of Atlantis to his brother. Now, this isn't to say that Orm is a good guy by any stretch of the imagination. He still, murdered a metric ton of people, and he was sent to Belle Reve prison to think about what he did. You may remember that place as Amanda Waller's personal Craigslist for Suicide Squad members. But he isn't purely evil, so maybe we'll get to see a bit of a redemption arc for old Ocean Master by the end of the movie, and then we can get a nice post-credit scene of James Gunn or someone recruiting him for Suicide Squad. And that is everything you need to know about Ocean Master before you see Aquaman. But what do you think? What other Ocean Master storylines do you want to see play out on the big screen? Would you like to see Ocean Master in the future as a member of Suicide Squad? Let me know in the comments below and give me a watery thumbs up while you're there. Now be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode. If you don't, your friends and family will be deeply disappointed, and you might not see next week's show. It's all about the story of a group of rambunctious children who are in desperate need of a disciplined housekeeper. But when they get a new au pair, it's more than they bargained for, as her mystical powers threaten to not only keep the kids in line, but to tap into a cosmic force that could consume the entire planet if a group of plucky teens with incredible birth defects can't stop her first. In X-Men Dark Nanny McPhoenix. Until next time, keep on digging. Thanks again to Sci-Fi's Night Flyers for sponsoring today's show. Based on George R.R. Martin's novella, Night Flyers is a psychological thriller set in the year 2093 that follows a team of scientists aboard the most advanced ship ever built. Their mission takes them to the edge of space, but also to the edge of insanity, as they realize true horror isn't waiting for them out there, it's already on their ship. Night Flyers combines horror and science fiction in a way that George R.R. Martin himself has described as psycho in space. And because it's from George R.R. Martin's Nightmare Factory of a Brain, you know it's gonna be supremely messed up and highly addictive. Watch Sci-Fi's Night Flyers online and on demand now.